Hey there, I'm Joel Michael, and today I want to talk about groove. So in this video, I want to show you how to inject a human feel into your drums to make them groove. So no more stiff quantization that steals all the character from your tracks. Let's inject some human feel and groove into your beats. I'll be using FL Studio, but you can use any DAW and apply the same techniques. Alright, let's jump in. Alright, so before I ever start laying down the drums on a track, I'm almost always hearing them in my head first. I think this is a vital skill to help you humanize and inject groove into your beats. So for example, I'm hearing something right now that's like boom, I don't always beatbox it, but sometimes it helps me kind of feel the accent patterns, which we'll talk about, and also the amount of groove in the way of swing or ahead or behind the beat, which I'm going to call push and pull. All right, so let's start. All right, so the kick I'm hearing is just 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 E, 2, 3 E, and 4. All right, so something like that. Let's hear. Okay, so that doesn't sound exactly like what I'm hearing in my head. So let's talk about the accent patterns first, which we can achieve by way of velocity. So I want my beat 1 and the end of 3 to be strong. I'm not going to adjust the velocity there. I'm going to bring the velocity down on these quick notes. This one's right after a strong beat, and this one's right before a strong beat. So we can hear. So now I want to talk about the groove of it. Okay, so for this particular instance, I want to push and a pull between the kick and the snares. So the kick, I want to be a little behind the beat at points, where the snare is going to catch up and be a little bit ahead of the beat to kind of create a push-pull effect. So let's take these weak notes, and I'm just going to hold the Alt button. It'll take me off the grid, and I can slide it a little bit behind the beat. I'm going to do the same thing right here with this and slide it a little bit behind the beat. Now, what I can do is I can adjust this swing. I'm going to kick it to about 20% for starters, and let's see what that does. Okay, that sounds a little bit more like what I was hearing in my head. Alright, next, let's move on to the snare. So all I'm hearing is snares on beat 2 and 4, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and input that on my first snare, which is a nice snapping snare. I'm going to have another snare that's just going to be hitting at the same time. It's going to add more body. I like to do that with snares where I stack them to create a thicker texture. Alright, now remember I said I want this to be ahead of the beat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the piano roll here. I'm going to go ahead and select this, hold Alt, and I'm going to shift it a little in front of the beat. I'm going to go ahead and go down to my next snare. I'm going to do the same exact thing. And I can actually see these grayed out notes. I can line it up with the other snare to be exactly with it. All right. Now we got that a little ahead of the beat. The kick has some notes behind the beat. Let's see what that does. All right. We're getting a sense of the groove there. What I want to do is I want to exaggerate my kick a little bit more. And instead of going in the piano roll like this and actually taking all the notes and dragging them behind the beat, I can actually go to this tab right here, which is the miscellaneous functions. I can click on it and go right here to shift, and I can just shift this right behind the beat. Let's hear how that sounds. All right, cool. Definitely not stiff and quantized, but this has some groove injecting into it. Let me hear it with the click. All right, cool. So you can hear how it's a little bit ahead and behind the beat. Okay, next thing, let's add a hi-hat. So the hi-hat, initially I was hearing some 16th patterns. All right, so I'm just going to start by going and plugging them all in all the way across. Okay, if I just play that. It's all right, but not exactly what I'm hearing. For example, I could have these not swing, and I could pull the swing effect down on just this particular instrument, while the swing effect is still up for my kick and snare. Let's see if that's what I'm going for. I'm going to go back to bringing the swing back in on this. Maybe just a little bit less, though. It's cool to have some instruments swung while others aren't. You can create a real human feel by it. All right, let's go to the piano rule. So first things first is let's think of accent patterns. So on my downbeats, I have my velocity all the way up. I'm going to take the 16ths, 1 E and A, 2 E and A, the E's and the U's. I'm going to go ahead and just pull those down, right? I could just copy and paste this, but I like the imperfections in doing it one at a time. Makes it a bit more human. Now my and, 1 E and, a 2 E and, a 3 E and, are going to be a little bit more accented than the E's and the U's, but less accented than the downbeats themselves. So again, I'm going to go through and pull those down one by one. Let's see what that does. Nice. That sounds a little bit more like what I was hearing initially in my head. Okay. Sometimes what works, not always, is if we pull the pitch down on the 16th notes of the hi-hat. Let's see what that does. Okay, so by lowering the pitch, it de-emphasizes it a little bit more, which helps the groove along a little bit better. Okay, the next thing is I want this to fall in and out of being ahead and behind the beat. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a couple of these, highlight them, hold the Alt button to get it off the grid, and I'm just going to slide them back a bit. So I want that a little bit behind. All right, I'm going to keep those on the beat. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of these. We're going to go behind. Okay? And this can take some experimenting. It might not always work, but it might work great. I'm going to go here, pull those back a little bit. Let's see what this does. I'm going to take these ones and pull them back just a hair as well. Okay, cool. Notice this is a 2-bar hi-hat pattern, and that's intentional because if it was just 1 bar, just this much right here, it might not be enough to really create these human inflections. And you know, sometimes I might go 4 bars or even 8 bars in length and alter each bar to be a little bit more unique than the previous one, just like as if you were playing it as a human on a drum set. All right, so the last element to create this groove is to add some claps. What I want to do is put these a little further ahead of the snares to create an even more push-pull between the kick and the snares. So I'm going to start by just adding them on beats 2 and 4, just like we did with the snares. Okay, so I'm going to go into the piano roll. I'm going to highlight it, Shift Alt, pull it ahead of the beat. A little bit more than I did the snare. I'm going to go down to the other clap. I'm going to do the same thing. Highlight them, pull them ahead of the beat. All right, let's see what that does. Okay, so now we have a really nice push-pull. I can even make one of these claps a little bit behind by shifting it a little bit behind the other one, and I'm going to actually pull them a little bit earlier to see what kind of effect I can get with this. Maybe it'll be too much, but you never know if you don't try. Let's hear that. Okay, and maybe I'll go back and I'll say, okay, this last one, I want it to be a little closer to being on beat. And then maybe the second one, I want to be a little closer on beat as well. So now we're really emphasizing the human aspect of this. All right, let's hear that. Alright, and that's how you inject groove into a basic drum pattern. Alright, so I hope some of these techniques inspired you to inject some groove into your beats and humanize them. If you like this, please push that subscribe button. I'll be posting a new production video every single week. In addition, I'm currently taking requests, so if there's some subject you want me to cover, leave a comment and I'll do my best to make a video just for you. If you want to hear the track that this beat became a part of, it's called Limited Visibility, and I'll put a link in the comments so you can check it out. In addition, I'll put my social media handles down there so you can communicate with me and connect. Alright? Cheers.